Okay, so we have our September edition of Share Your Session, and we have Denise Cambiotti from Muscle Tuners here to share some new techniques. For anybody where this is your first Share Your Session, because I think for some of you it is, usually what we do with this is it's designed to allow us to see how people actually work. So it's one thing to take a class and see how something is taught in class, but it's another to kind of see how things happen on the table or be able to learn how people integrate techniques from one modality with another, to be able to chat about it in a less formal environment. And so we've had some of our group and some guest speakers come and share their work. And I'm thrilled to have Denise with us tonight. So I'm going to mute myself and let her go ahead and present her stuff.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Alexis, and hello everybody here who's here live, and hello to everybody who will be watching the recording. We hear that there's a few of you that said, I'd love to come, except life is happening, right? So a little bit about me is a long time ago, I discovered Touch for Health because my chiropractor did some weird woo-woo magic on me. And I went, what just happened? And this is what I want to do when I grow up. And I came out of northern Canada. I landed nearby to where I live now. And I happened to be walking by one of my favorite places in a library, the poster board that says learn muscle testing. And I went, you don't have to be a doctor to learn muscle testing. Woohoo! And that's how I ended up in a Touch for Health class. And then somebody says, wow, you're good at this, and you should come to this class and this class, and we're bringing in this instructor and this instructor. And I went down a rabbit hole and loved every single minute pretty much, especially during the learning journey. And now I'm here, having created with a colleague the Muscle Tuner International company, and she's no longer with us. She's passed on, and it is because of Heather Phillips, who said, you know, after we teach our online Muscle Tuner Specialist program, and then we have a seminar to invite people to come in and do hands-on practice and make sure they're doing it safely and that everybody's comfortable. And, because kinesiology, that word that we're not supposed to use in Canada, but, muscle testing's traditionally been taught live and in person. And we were finding out that people, even before coming to the seminar, who had no background with muscle testing, were doing really good work. So when the pandemic came along, we kind of tossed the seminar out the window. I haven't gone back, but I'd be happy to if I had a sponsor somewhere. Hint, hint. Anybody in Hawaii? Costa Rica? Europe? Anyways, Heather was saying, we're going to be bringing in adult learners who may not have been in a classroom for quite a while. And I feel that that can cause anxiety, because learning situation can bring on anxiety for different people. And she was studying EFT, emotional freedom tapping. Everybody knows that technique, right? And she's going, we're going to have to teach this and run this at the start of our workshops before we do the workshops so that people will be in great learning mode. And I'm going, no, I'm not going to learn one more modality to incorporate for a few minutes at the start of a modality. And Touch for Health and turning on your buttons and all ears and eyes and, waking up your brain pathways, that's a lot. But she had a really good perspective on a lot of things. So I have had a love-hate relationship with EFT. And I've experienced it a lot of times where it didn't do anything. And I have experienced once where, holy cow, Batman, that was phenomenal. This thing in my back that I had damaged when I was a teenager, pains never come back. I was so surprised that at a conference, somebody was leading a group of 300 people. So I don't know if it was the resonance of having that many people, but the presenter was very clear, great directions. We worked on a couple of different aspects, which is, I think, really important when you're doing EFT. Is one go at tapping usually isn't enough. If you got yourself in a state that you can't get unstuck out of, then you probably need to do a few rounds of tapping on a few different, I call them perspectives, different layers. So this is in my background, and I'm thinking to myself, because one of the things I like to do for my students is to have them think in kinesiology terms. With the tools we have, how can we put things together to get the objective we want? Right? Have you guys have hopefully all had that wonderful experience in clinic where you kind of couldn't draw inside the lines. You had to step out and use different things and blend things together. Isn't that right? And if you've been hanging out with Alexis, I'm pretty sure you have been. So we came up with a technique that I affectionately call tapping with a muscle tuner twist. So it does involve tapping, and it's simplified in a way that this is an introductory piece that should we be at a seminar, which we're not allowed to call them workshops when we go train in the US, because that's we can't tell the people at the border that we're going to go teach a workshop, but we can go to a seminar. Just, I need to tap on that just to get across borders sometimes. So, I call it tapping with a muscle tuner twist, and then we needed to name it something. And after using this technique for a while, we realized that it's dynamic. It responds to whether the person's over-facilitated, under-facilitated, doing this, what it's dynamic, it's harmonizing things, and it's about emotional alignment. So the technique is officially called the Dynamic Emotional Alignment Reset Technique, or DEAR, D-E.A.R. And it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. And I'm just happy to share this with you. And this was the aha moment. And we've gone on to grow this more, but this one thing can do so much. And when I have clients who are in a like SOS phone call help stage, and there's no way we're going to get them in, I'll teach them this technique and say, just do this. I'll send you a picture. You follow along with the point I'm telling you to tap and the point to hold, and see how that works. And it works really well. So putting some Lego bricks together from Touch for Health. Everybody here knows Touch for Health, right? Or everybody familiar with the hold your forehead for emotional stress release? Okay. And in some worlds, holding your forehead like this is helping stress in present time. And for some people, their world says if the stress was held in the past, you hold the back of the head. Is that new to anybody? Okay. So then we're going, okay, Heather, you're talking about anxiety, about being in a classroom situation, learning anxiety, performance anxiety, when you have to go and workshop things with people and not look like a crazy idiot because maybe you only finished the course at midnight and you showed up for the class at 8 a.m. So some people might be burning the candle at both ends and not sure that they're doing things right. So it was natural to think about anxiety. So who here could tell me what organ in the 5 elements, or what meridian in the 5 elements tends to hold on to anxiety? Come on, I'm getting ready to award a gold star. Somebody unmute yourself.
Is it the kidney?
Very, very good. And that's Mark, right? Fabulous. You get the teacher's gold stars. Woohoo! All right, so what if we combined ESR with tapping on a kidney alarm point? This was my reasoning, just explaining my very simple, blonde reasoning. And tapping, because I definitely learned that holding a point talks to the nervous system in a different way than tapping it. My chiropractor tapped on the GV20 once, and holy cow, Batman, my first adorable chiropractor in Northern Alberta released this huge, pressure. I don't even know how, I don't know what to call it, but it was just miraculous. And then I learned about Dr. Jimmy Scott from Ontario, one of my Canadian colleagues, who did cure your own allergies in minutes, and he would tap on points. And he was tapping on the beginning and ends of meridians. And I started thinking, because some of my background, alarm points are like the control center. Like if you phone the fire department, that's going to where the fire alarm, they hit and the fire alarm goes off. Everybody knows, let's go, let's go, let's go. So it checks in and reports on states of imbalance. So with my applied physiology background, I know that the quality of touch on an alarm point could show if the meridian is under energy or over energy. And in Touch for Health, when you touch an alarm point the way we've touched lightly in Touch for Health, that is identifying over energy. So then in applied physiology, I find out that if you touch with medium or deep touch, you're accessing different things. So I'm just wanting to keep it simple, stupid. I mean, the KISS, I'm not saying that in a bad way, but the KISS concept. So I came up with this idea, and I had a few chances to test it. So does anybody want to know what happened with my very, very, very first real test? Please say yes. Okay. So I had a room in a metaphysical bookstore, crystal shop, the whole 9 yards, and they had a couple little rooms for card readings and things. And I would show up on a given day, and I was offering frequency healings. And it was really great because when the shop wasn't busy, it was really easy to focus on writing my manual when I wasn't at home with all the distractions. So I hung out at that place for quite a while, and there was a lovely young woman on the desk. And she starts talking just before Thanksgiving about having to go home for Thanksgiving dinner. Now, has anybody got experience with dysfunctional families and Thanksgiving dinners? Maybe. So she comes from a very pretty strict religious background. And here she is working in a metaphysical bookstore, not wearing a bra, wearing the flowy dresses. And she doesn't change that. She is who she is. And she shows up at her family dinners, and they're commenting on her hair, and they're commenting on her clothes and her choice of what she's not wearing, and the whole thing, and her beliefs and their worry about her might get into Satan because she's, it was just stuff. And she really loved her family and wanted to go for dinner with her family, but she knew it was going to be like hugely stressful. And I went, oh, can I maybe help you with that? So without telling her I'm testing her as client number one, I had her stick out her arm, I do the pre-tests, and she was a little bit familiar with muscle testing. So that all part was good. And I says, okay, now think about going to your family dinner. And boom, the arm goes down. I'm going, cool. So there's emotional stress on this, we believe. So is she going to hold her forehead or the back of the head? And I can't recall which it was for her. I do know that we did both. That we did one, and then when we challenged and did the other side, whatever order it was, we needed to clear it on both. And then I was going, gee, I wonder if fear anxiety is on board with this, because this is the one system we've decided is going to be a quick fix for most things. And at that point, we were thinking everything. And it still pretty much does everything. I went, okay, what happens if you hold your forehead and it changes your arm, does it from an unlock to a lock? What happens if I reach around and check one of your kidney alarm points and the indicator muscle changed again? And I'm going, oh, these two pieces connect because we're getting indicator change, ooh, and another indicator change. So go ahead, girly, think about your family dinner and hold, can't remember, let's just call it the forehead first, and I tap the back alarm points. Now, it will work without any verbal processing, but in Touch for Health, when you do the ESRs, you invite them to go ahead and see what they see, hear what they hear, feel what they feel, have the thoughts they're having about that stress. So this isn't new for anybody, right? So all I did was have her do that while she's thinking of the thing, and now I'm tapping on the alarm points for the kidney. My training is you want to do it a minimum of 40 times. But she was doing a little bit of processing, so we probably did it for about a whole minute. And then we checked again, and thinking about the family dinner did not cause the indicator to change. But I'm kind of persistent, and I didn't trust that that was all. So I said, okay, check your forehead again, and there was no change. Well, that's good. And this is where I had the stroke of insight of going back brain, and we had it, or whatever direction it was, we had to change on holding the other side of the skull. So I said, okay, go ahead and think about this. And let's say at this point, it's in the past when you've had stress going for family dinners. And I'm tapping on the kidney alarm points with the rhythm of a ticking clock. And she's thinking about it. And it's like 40 taps, 60 taps. It wasn't, I don't think it was a whole minute. And then we went back to challenge again. Think about going to the family dinner. Touch your head here, touch your head here. Let me check this kidney alarm point while you're thinking of that old stress. And let me check the other one on the other side. And voila. So some of you may not have noticed the language I use there because I'm trained in NLP as well. I like to call it that old stress. That, not this, that old stress. The language helps anchor the change. So she goes off, I think nothing of it, and the following week I show up and, to do my work on my manual and maybe give demonstrations to people who come into the store. And she's like, you would never believe what happened. I'm going, what happened? She says, that was the best family dinner ever. Nobody said anything about my hair. Nobody said anything about my clothes. Nobody complained about where I was working. And it was just like old times. It was just everybody was happy, and I wasn't defensive anymore, and I wasn't worried anymore. And it was just a great dinner. And I went, test number 1, check. So I pulled it out on a couple other people, and then we brought it into our program. And I have a demonstration of what it looks like on video if you guys would like to see it. Now, before I do that, do you want to ask questions first, or do you want to hold the questions till after? So I'm taking it that Alexis is giving me permission to share. And host is not allowed to have multiple. Oh, thank you. Oh, she's got it figured out. Well, thought I had the video open. There it is now. So this is maybe 6 minutes if I remember. It's not horribly long, but you'll get to see the flow. And the model is my number one son. I have twin boys, and he happened to be the one who got kicked out by his brother, so he's number one. At least that's what he says. And there's a very, very special mother moment here that I will share. He's talking about an upcoming stress because he's sitting there on the sidelines. I'm recording. I got 2 videographers, and he's sitting there. It's like, okay, come on up. I want to do this demonstration with you. And what's going on in your life? You got anything stressful? And he's going, nope, nothing stressful, nothing at all. Mother knows you're going for a job interview tomorrow for a really big deal thing. And he goes, I says, how are you feeling about that? And he says, oh, yeah, I might be a little stressed about that. I was like, so mother ninja technique, because I can't get him on the massage table too often, but in front of the camera, you couldn't say no. And so we did this technique for him, and I cannot wait to tell you the result of that. So just so full disclosures, sometimes as my model, I've had a couple some of my students, I call them customers because I'm not a school. They went, is that a family member? Because sometimes the way you talk to them, they're going, yes, he was driving me nuts. Look up, stop looking down at what I'm doing, look up, breathe, So it was a great excuse to model how to coach those clients who forget to breathe and are always looking at everything you're doing instead of keeping their head straight, keeping their eyes straight, because that can mess up a muscle test big time. So here we go. I'm going to share now, and shut up and you can watch. Oh, and I've got to do it with sound, sorry. Gotta click the little button. Oh, 7:47. So get the popcorn out, kids. Here we go. Hi, I'm Denise Cambiotti with Muscle Tuners International with my willing volunteer here, Lawrence. And what we're here to talk to you about right now is the dynamic emotional alignment reset. This is a technique that's very useful to perform when you know you're about to enter a situation that might cause you some stress. So if you have a performance, you have an activity, you have a test to write, something along that nature that would normally cause you some kind of little bit of stress, even if there's a phone call you've been putting off doing, conversation you have to have face-to-face with somebody, you can use this technique and then go do the activity and notice that you'll flow through it a lot more easily. So at this point, we don't really know that Lawrence's muscle is on because this is the first take of today. Please hold. Good. So we're going to locate the correction points. Can you touch your tailbone, please? Thank you. And if we go zip up, zip down, zip up, that's looking good. Can you pull a little bit of hair? Keep pulling on it. Good. So we've just done a lot of them. I'm going to skip the ionization one right now, but maybe we shouldn't. Can you do that? Breathe in. Switch fingers. Breathe out. Breathe in. And switch fingers and breathe out. Good. No real shortcuts. See how fast the pre-tuning can be to check to make sure it's on? If it's not, we do a corrective technique. So Lawrence's system is now ready for us to do the D.E.A.R technique. I'm choosing to use the anterior deltoid as a stress detector because it's very handy to use. Now, Lawrence, is there a situation in your life where you might have a little bit of stress? Something that might be common to a lot of the people in our viewing audience, perhaps?
I have a job interview coming up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sitting a job interview for the average person is a little bit stressful, right? Okay.
So that's perfect. Can you hold and see what happens? Think of the job interview. Think about you're showing up at the place and you're staring eyeball to eyeball and they're asking you questions. Okay, and that causes your muscle to unlock. So his stress detector has reacted. So I wonder if the stress is more present time, like, wow, today, tomorrow I have a job interview. Or if this problem originates from the past, because maybe he went to a job interview that was really important to him, went through the whole thing and then didn't get the job. And his nervous system remembers that as a failure. He didn't get the pleasure, and it's a bit of a hiccup in his nervous system. So you know how we find out if it's just a present day stress because it's a different kind of a situation than you've been in before, or if it's related to past stress where it's sort of, oh, here we go again. I might not get the job again. So let's find out, all right? So to do that, keep thinking exactly attending this upcoming interview, okay? We have an unlocked muscle. Put your hands gently across your forehead and think about the upcoming interview. Okay, so it's not present stress. The presence in the front and back, touch back here, your back brain remembers past. So think of a job interview, and that really locks things up for you. The muscle, the stress detector tightens up. So the correction is super simple. Turn around for me, please. We're going to find the kidney alarm point. So we follow his ribs until we find no more ribs. Then we come in here until we find the end of the 12th floating rib. So I'm going to be tapping right here, but I don't want to do it sideways. I'm going to have you do like that. So those are the points I'm going to be tapping while Lawrence puts his hand back here. Good, look straight ahead and think about job interview. And you can do a little, we'll call it play acting. So imagine walking or driving to this interview and getting into the room, finding the room, and meeting the interviewer, and shaking their hand, and going through the process of the interview, and introducing yourself, and answering all the questions that they have for you, and really feeling integrated, like the answers are coming to you easily. And think about the enthusiasm you would have getting this job and how important it is to you. Maybe it's a job you just really, really want because it advances you in where you want to go. Or maybe it's a job that's going to help pay the bills and you really need to be able to pay the bills right now. So there's many reasons for getting a job. Keep breathing. Now, visualize the job interviews coming to a close. The interviewer is smiling, you're smiling, you shake hands confidently, and you leave. Your head's held high and you feel fantastic. Okay? Good, you're done. Take your hand away. So that's an example of stretching out the situation. What we really wanted to do is make sure we tapped those kidney alarm points at least 40 times with the rhythm of a ticking clock. So not too fast and not too slowly. It has to be just right. And while you tap those points, the stress, the fear is coming out of the kidney alarm points from the kidney meridian. It's leaving the body. And while he's holding either his forehead or the back of his head, this is a release for emotions particularly. So the alarm point's about the energy that's been stuck in there, and this point or this point is about the emotions that have been generally stuck in the body. They are pressure release valves for emotions. Now, what happens if you hold your arm? Think about having a job interview, this upcoming job interview, okay? Can you visualize that? And that doesn't seem to cause you stress. Put your hand back here. We want to challenge and make sure we've done enough. Think of the interview. Good. Now put your hand in the forehead. Is there anything left in the present time to do? the muscle remains locked. So think about, how do you feel now about going out and having this interview? Do you feel any different?
Instantly better.
Instantly better.
Yeah.
I like the smile on his face. I didn't pay him to give him that smile. So thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay. So that's an example of the dynamic emotional alignment reset, or as we affectionately call it, the D.E.A.R technique.
So the job interview was to be a, what do they call it? Substitution on a movie set for a big time series that was filming here in the Vancouver area called Once Upon a Time. And he got his own trailer, private trailer. He didn't have to be in the cattle call area where all the extras were. He got an actual trailer. He got to eat all the food he wanted and bring it home in tuppers. He would just, because otherwise, you know, on the set, they feed everybody. And so he was well fed noon and night. And well, it depended whenever they were shooting. And he was a sub-in because the person he was subbing in was underage, and his contract said he couldn't work at night, and a lot of the scenes were being shown at night because it was kind of spooky, and it's a metaphysical kind of a show of some sort. And at one point, as the series progressed, Jennifer and he got to kiss. Jennifer Morrison, one of the lead actresses. And I'm going, you got to kiss Jennifer Morrison? She's the one on House. She was that doctor on House. Anyways, it was a really, really great experience. He got to rub shoulders with some people who helped him along his way. And he's no longer in the movie industry. At that kid, man, they just went, perfect, you're in. So as a mother, I'm really, really happy I had a chance to get that release done the day before his interview. So there's always a story about why you're attached to a particular, thanks there. You know, so this particular correction is near and dear to my heart because it's made such a powerful change in my own family, and never mind all the other people that it's been applied to over the years. So now you know a little bit about, I like to think simply. I like to think about combining tools. You got to see a little bit about how my reasoning process goes, and that's it. Tapping with a muscle tuner twist. Any questions?
I have a
Go ahead,
question.
Teresa.
So you usually use the kidney meridian, but is there a time or have you ever tapped on a different meridian alarm point for some reason holding the ESRs?
Are you asking me to tell you advanced muscle tuner material?
I'm just curious.
Good job. Absolutely. The answer is yes. And so we often take people who have no understanding or background with it, and we found that kidney worked brilliantly. And when people were coming to the extra in-person seminar, I wanted to give them bonus materials. So I collected lists of emotional words that have been associated with different organs. Like kidney tends to connect to anxiety, for example, on and on and on. And then I taught them how to ask, instead of getting another change on the kidney alarm point. And in this video, I know at the beginning I said I checked for another indicator change on the kidney alarm point. At that point in time, we were just assuming kidney tapping would going to clear it, and it did. But later on, we went, well, what if the emotion's held in the lung meridian or this meridian or liver meridian, you know, on and on and on. So good catch. Yes, you can do that. And I will advise strongly, always ask the body with indicator change when you're touching an alarm point. Just don't tap it for the hell of it. Don't tap all of them willy-nilly. I heard that's very counterproductive, like ultra counterproductive to just tap on alarm points, all of them in any particular order without asking the body how to unpack the stress. Thanks for the question.
Do you ever find you need 2 meridians?
Yes. So let me finish that answer. On this particular video, because I really wanted to keep it simple for our foundations program, I left it there. But in real life, when I follow up with people, I teach them, make sure that in addition to no indicator change here or here, you also check the kidney alarm. And then you go through and you ask any stress on the alarm you were just on and take it a little bit further and ask, are there any other alarm points? So I love how you think. You're seeing the bigger, longer, deeper picture where you're not satisfied with just one aspect, one perspective. It's multi-textured, possibly, but miracles still happen with just the kidney alarm point. But because now you guys have heard this, your clients are going to want you to check all of them.
Do you ever check the chakras in this way?
I have not yet. And that would be fabulous, but that's outside the scope of muscle tuner land, so I haven't really pursued that type of research. But boy, oh boy, I like how you think, because so much stress is held in the chakras. Now, how do you take the stress out of the chakra, though? Because an alarm point, you can tap on it. Possibly, but then you have to be careful you don't spin it too far in the other way, right, Alexis? Which you feel it probably. Just, ooh, okay, that's enough. But I do know some people would stir, I call it stirring, for a little bit too long. So yeah, I would invite you to say, should we go this way or go this way? You get indicator change from whatever you just had on. Yep, there's a chakra up. It's this chakra. You're probably pause locking, stacking all the way through. And then when you get an indicator change on this direction or that direction, and then you might want to ask how many spins or for how long. And then you'd probably be safe to go. How fun is this? Any other questions?
Sorry, I have another question. I noticed that you don't use pause lock. Is that right?
I did not in that demonstration, again, because I was working with real beginners.
Mm-hmm.
The foundations class is beginners, and I was teaching stacking when they were coming for the seminar. So that was the model then, that there was an online and then an in-person. And when they got most of their hiccups out with the basic stuff, I said, now wait, look what can happen when you start using pause lock.
Okay.
Good question. I use pause lock in my sleep. I find myself processing at night, my heels are clicking, and I wake up and I go, stop it.
Like a hashtag kinesiology problems kind of moment right there, right? Like can't stop pause locking in my sleep. Yeah. All right. Do we have any other questions for Denise while we've got her here? If there's no other
Yeah,
questions, oh, sorry, Andy. Yeah.
yeah. I just recently started looking into your muscle tuners program. If we were to get started, would we start with the specialist program and kind of go from there? or how do you recommend that we kind of tackle your program? Like which classes that you have listed?
Well, thank you for a graceful way to do a little advertisement. So this summer, I offered the members of Can Be Well a really, really special offer because of prior learning, of having taken, most of them, 4 levels of touch for health. I did put out an offer that supposedly expired at the end of August, but I am holding it open for probably till the end of September at 67% off. And the reason you might want to take the foundations program is because I teach some extra techniques that I'm sorry to say are a lot like SIPS 1, but aren't, and faster. Because that's just how energy is moving. And I teach things in a different way. And I have taught a number of Touch for Health instructors who have said, oh, now I finally know how to use reactives, or I know how to tackle the gates. And I just love that people everywhere in the world are doing their best to share Touch for Health to their best of ability. And if they're not doing the gates and they're avoiding the reactives, they're missing the boat. So the beauty of that program is it's pre-recorded. You learn at your own speed, little bits at a time. You get to review anything you want. It's well indexed. The library is set up straight, straight. I think it's well organized. Plus, there's also recordings of a whole pile of office hours that when you're in that program, I mentor people once a week. If you want to show up and ask me any kind of question, hopefully more or less related to muscle tuners, I'll answer you. And that's all included. And all those videos through the pandemic where we weren't doing seminars, I just gave all the extra, what are those called? Blah, 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 lectures. That's pretty bad. The lectures, the talking bits. I recorded all the lectures and broke them out and created a library too, that if somebody says, I'm a massage therapist and how would I apply this or this, that. So there are categories that you can go through. I call that the video vault for extra information. And there's some people that have gone through and devoured everything to deepen their learning because they went, oh, I never thought of doing it like that before. So that's part of the reason why you might want to take the foundations class, which leads to when you're competent. And right now I am throwing in the 2 assessments, the practical and the written, and the first year's trademark license to call yourself a muscle tuner specialist. For some people, that's an attractive thing that brings people in the door because they go, oh, you tune up muscles. I need some of that. So that's included. Now, if a person feels secure and solid with their muscle testing skills already, we have the mastery programs. And the one that's closest to my heart is tuning with surrogates. And it is not just touching somebody on the shoulder while you check their muscles. It's way out there where you'll be able to tune up any tissue of the body that you can find in an anatomy book. And then I have fine tuning, which is a whole bunch of extra muscles for wrists, elbows, hip, knee, eyes. There's certain, oh, that's in surrogates, but there's some things in fine tuning that if you have a lot of seniors or you have a lot of athletes, then you would want to have that as an add-on. And they're very reasonably priced. And those are going for 10% off right now too. So anybody that sees this video and catches me before the end of September, I'll give you the 67% off the foundations and 10% off any of the mastery classes. I hope that answered your question, Andy.
Yeah, mostly. I'm looking at your site right now, and I don't see the foundations. I see the specialist
It's
program.
called Muscle Tuners Specialist, yeah.
Okay, so
And
specialist
then the
foundation.
little word foundation shows up there somewhere.
Okay, all right, good deal. All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome. By the way, if anybody has people, and Hannah, I don't mean to step on your toes at all, but some people who are watching this video somewhere may have a friend that wants to learn muscle tuning in their pajamas in the middle of the night. So this is an option for them. And also what's good for instructors like you, Anna, and others. I don't know if the rest of you are instructors or not, but if you've gotten as far as you can go with your students and you say, and there's more, you can sign up to be an affiliate of our program, and I'll send you a financial thank you if you send out your little affiliate link and say, go see what Denise is up to. And if they ever buy, the system tracks, because it gives them a cookie and it tracks them through that the referral came from whoever sent them. And the new, oh, by the way, I have a new website. It's muscletuners.ca. I'm just in the process of going to the .ca. And you'd want to set up as an affiliate on that website, because it's if you introduce a clinic and the clinic then it gets all their massage therapists trained, you will also get a commission, not just the clinic owner. Hope that's clear. It's like multi-level for referrals, because it's not fair if you introduce somebody that goes and introduces 10 other people and you don't get a cut of the pie.
Do the links that we have right now work for your new website, or do we need to change out our links?
At the end of this week, I'm planning on sending you the new links. It's on my to-do list.
That's
But
a
the links
current
are
task
the
to
links
have.
are still working. And if yes, just Denise, just tap. It's like just tap. Brain. Oh yeah, not too fast. So it'll still work, and I'll just transition people over. But I will, it's just almost ready to be released out to the world, but I'll say it here. muscletuners.ca.
Thank you so
I
much.
have another question.
You go for it,
Um,
Lisa. And Lisa, what's your last name?
Lisa Childs.
Oh, great.
Yes,
Go,
I'm always
girl.
full. I'm always full of questions. How do you integrate this? I don't do Touch for Health. I'm a brain integration practitioner, crossinology. And how do you, and this question I think would apply to Touch for Health as well. How do you integrate the two together? Is it something you do like at the beginning of a session to check this, like what's the main issue with you right now, and then maybe go into Touch for Health or whatever?
You pretty much answered your own question. I had the blessing of having somebody in my first LEAP class, LEAP bit, you know, same children from different, like same parents, different children. And I had the blessing of working with somebody in class that had a brain injury. And she came and it was a lot of effort for her to show up in my clinic, get on the table, and she wanted LEAP. And her body said no. And she goes, what do you mean no? I says, your body is not, like, a little bit about kinesiology already. Your body wants a structural alignment first. And if I do the LEAP, because she had LEAP done before with somebody else, and sometimes people will say, you want LEAP? I'll give you LEAP. But I asked the body, as I think I just recently heard Alexis mention in one of the groups, just ask the body. And her body said, no, you need structural alignment first. You need to get some stress out of the body first. Otherwise, the wiring's just going to pull loose as soon as they walk out the door and get into their car. So I do like to ask the body, am I going to do Touch for Health? Am I going to do muscle tuners? Because in my mind, the approach is it is different. Am I going to do SIPs? Am I going to do LEAP? So I have a couple modalities, and I always ask, okay, I've done a little bit now. Am I going to keep going down that rabbit hole, or am I going to bring in things from other sides? And in BIT, there is opportunity, if you think about it, to check indicator muscles and put on some muscles in the body that might be related. And if you're going, is this commissure out of alignment because, and a really good one that I'm thinking of right now is reactives. So I'm full of stories. Somebody couldn't get help anywhere and went to see Dr. Charles Krebs, and Dr. Charles Krebs found reactives, and he tracked it down that it was when the guy was bent forward, so it was the psoas, and it was a wrist muscle. And so the guy had this pain that would not go away, and he was on an assembly line and needed to do this. And Charles found out he's bent over, so he said, oh, it's a reactive then. And so he put them on as a unit, and it permanently cleared the guy's problem. So that's structural and that's pain. But what if there's emotional pain that's locked in the tissues? And it might be a good time to say, before I put this commissure on, should I clear something out of a muscle? And you don't have to do reactives. I think I'm going to say this out loud to the whole world, or at least the GEMS people to hear. I think that when we do one of our proprietary techniques, it clears so much stress out of that muscle. It clears the electrical stress out. It clears the emotional stress out. It clears it out, whether it's at the muscle level, the tendon, the ligament, the fascia, the nervous system, the blood supply to and from the muscle, the lymphatic supply to and from the muscle. You get the picture? We clear so much that if the reason for the disconnect in the brain is somewhere in the body and you just ask where, and you use one of our proprietary techniques, I believe that you will serve that client to a greater effect. But
Okay,
just
thank
ask.
Okay. Denise, we're coming up on 7 o'clock. We don't have to hang up. We can stay and keep talking, but I'm going to turn off the recording here. So I'm just wondering, is there anything else that you want to say before I hit the stop button on the record for the people that are not here with us tonight?
I just want to encourage everybody to, I'm thinking of Richard Ott, and now I'm getting emotional, to work from your heart and do your best. And be confident, because where else in the world is anybody going to get the kind of help that you can give them, whether you're standing at the person's kitchen table or you have a humble little clinic downstairs in your 70-year-old house. Where else are people going to get that relief? And I was referred by a raving fan to a woman who's in Florida, and I did a distance session with her over Zoom the other day. And I sent a note to the guy. Thank you for the referral. She was so much fun to work with. And he said, this is the message. Okay, and we might want to stop the recording on this one or not, but I will say, I unfiltered. I hope I don't offend anybody, but the woman was so shocked that in an hour, all the pressure in her head was gone. All the pressure in her body was gone, that she told her friend, Denise is a fucking ninja. And that happened on Friday, and it just tickled my funny bone, because I'm just doing what she says, you're amazing at doing this. I just do what I'm trained to do. I'm trained to do it. And I've learned to ask the body and put things together. I'm giving you permission to do it. So that's how I'd like to end this recording. Just go ahead and be a freaking ninja for other people just by being yourself. No, Hannah, you cannot.
I have to send you one of my Energy Ninja shirts. All right, thank you so much for showing us something new. I'm so glad. I always like hanging out with you. So I'm going to turn off the recording here.